Every morning, when we're barely out of our beds, the doorbell rings, and she sort of swoops into the house, and if we're up, we're constantly jumping whenever she's sweeping under our feet. That's sometimes the only exercise we get. She is all of 55 years of age, and just like Sholay ki Basanti, she too has an attitude. This is Hamare Ghar ki Basanti. Now, usually, she is very territorial. You cannot ask her questions. She will do her work and exit the moment she decides to. Now, something had changed that day because I was following her around room to room. Finally, after 2 strokes, she turned around and said, "Is there something that you need?" And I said, "Can I talk to you today?" And she looked at me and she said, "I have 15 minutes. Any later and I will walk out." So when I said, "All right, let's have a little chat." So I asked her, "Have you ever found it difficult getting to work from home?" And she looked at me and she said, "Why should I find it difficult? I take the bus, this is the route, I walk here, I get up, I climb the stairs. Are you trying to say I get late?" I said, "No, that's not what I'm asking. Has anybody ever tried to ask you something that has made you uncomfortable?" She said, "This is uncomfortable. Stop bothering me, I need to clean." So I said, "You said 15 minutes. I still have," and we both looked at the clock, "a couple more minutes to go." So she said, "Fine, ask me quickly. What is it that you would really want done?" So I said, "Let me ask you very frankly. You're a woman, I'm a woman. Have you ever felt disturbed by any attention that a man may have projected onto you?" So she looked at me and she said, "Do you want me to be honest?" And I said, "Yes, I do." So she said, "The first time that it happened to me, I was traveling in a train and I was veiled, and I was carrying my child, and this man kept falling onto me and kept pinching my bottom. So when we got off at the station, I put my child on the track and I beckoned to him. He thought I was calling him over. I removed my slippers," she said, "and I hit him till I counted till 100. And then she said I had to be physically pulled apart from that man." That story, she said, belonged to the village. When she moved to the city, she said every day as she traveled in buses, she has constantly had men falling over her. So therefore today, at almost 55 years of age, she bodily inserts herself between men and women when she thinks that a man is supposedly of ill health and falling onto women. Then she said just the other day she pulled out her slippers again and beat up a cop because he had whistled at her granddaughters. And then she said, "Why is it that you are asking me these questions? Is there a paper that you need to write? You keep studying all the time. Is there an exam that you need to talk of?" And I told her that this was a social experiment. She looked at me very carefully and said, "Well, your 15 minutes are up," and out she walked. The reason that I chose to speak to Basanti that day was because I was indeed reflecting on an idea that had completely consumed me. New Delhi, the city that I live in, is a city that became home because we chose to stay on as my father, who was in the military services, moved on. We were nomads, institutional nomads. We moved from place to place. When I came to this city, I stayed here the longest, and I have stayed here the longest in my entire life, and I developed relationships and networks. This became my home. But as a student and as a filmmaker, and as a person who thinks of culture, I would constantly meet people who would say, "You don't understand reality because you belong to the city." And that was the first time that I realized that this city is my reality. I cannot deny that I do not have a village home to go to and that I firmly belong in this urban space. But does that take away my right to question and try and reinvent the space? And as I continue to think of that, and I kept thinking of how I negotiate the space, the fact that I'm a working woman, the fact that there is a curfew hour till date, that my friends still call me Cinderella, irrespective of the years that I may be adding on or the accomplishments that I be making, I felt that I could not negotiate this city. And that's when I thought, it's not just me. I'm not the only working woman in my house. There's my mother, there's me, and there's this person who comes and works with me. When we talk of the city and when we talk of women's empowerment, we constantly talk of mobilizing and energizing what people call the inert middle classes. That too was my second rung of objection. I am from a upper middle class background. I have worked, I have struggled. I have watched women completely bring down institutions because they have had the courage to ask questions, to challenge and go out there and work. But unfortunately, the debate is so fractured along class lines that we do not want to talk about the safety of women who come to work in our homes. And that's when I realized that if the city is safe for her, it will be safe for me. Because as the DLF 5 ad screams at you all the way from New Delhi to Gurgaon, today as I speak, I like living in DLF 5 because I'm safe there. How many walls are we going to build and how many little villages are we going to build in the very network that we call our city space? It was this that led me to start toying around with the idea of conversations. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I must tell you, with a very, very clear disclaimer, I am not here to say that I have accomplished something. I am here very genuinely to explain to you that an idea is in progress, and of course, feedback is welcome. Project Baatcheet. Project Baatcheet was essentially to involve people in conversations and to get homemakers who are considered to be puritanical, considered to be prudish, and the ones who enforce all these Victorian values of what a girl can or cannot do was supposed to be the primary target. In cinema, there's this Bechdel test which says that any film is a horrible film in terms of gender dynamics if two women are not talking to each other for a certain amount of time on a subject which does not concern men. And of course, the cartoon accompanying this little disclaimer says then the only film that is gender sensitive is the film Aliens, right? So there's a very simple test that we decided to administer to housewives. We said, do you know the name of the person you're working with? Do you know their surname? Do you know what is the route that they take to come here? What are the modes of transport that they come by? What was the last conversation that you had with them? Did you ask them about their welfare? Did you ask them, were you ever eve-teased? When you were reading a newspaper and told your daughter, please come home quickly, did you ask the maidservant who works for you, would you like to go home quickly? Did you ask them about how her daughters are negotiating the city space? And why is it that when we have the candlelight marches with the December 16 rape case and all the others, we do not put at the forefront these women, because they are literally the women who are running the city. It is not women like you and me who have the vocabulary of dissent because we are educated. These are the women who are running your homes. These are the women who are running the city. They are the ones who provide you with labor, and yet you do not want to talk of them. You do not want to talk to them. You do not want to acknowledge them. And so our first driving point was to just ask these women these questions. And a lot of them stepped back and said, you're right. I've had conversations about money, about missing a day of work, but I'd never asked them how they come and go. I've never asked them if they faced any problems. And therefore, our final question to them was, can you now step out of your house and take us to where they live without asking for directions? And not one person could. And that was the starting point about using conversation as an identifier and as an enabler that recognizes self-esteem. Once you acknowledge the person who works for you, you acknowledge a larger reality, which is beyond your class and caste conditions. And therefore, Project Baatcheet started with something so esoteric and so abstract as talk to the person who is working for you. Can I use conversations as a means to make a change? It was just a few of us who painstakingly worked. We collected material for over an entire year, which is called a longitudinal data study, from almost 15 newspapers, regional as well as national, and then started mapping out areas where crime was reported in the country. We identified areas which had the maximum crimes against women, and we started speaking to women who were housewives. And till date, we are at a point where we are collecting these conversations. And what is very important is not to say that why can't I wear shorts and go out to Marine Drive like I can do in Mumbai. The question is, how can I make this data and these conversations very, very valuable? Our idea is to then to be able to contact RWAs, the MCD offices, and to try and make sure that network coverage area is better, because everybody was talking about the mobile phone. Now you say, you're going out of the house, please carry your mobile phone. But the With You app is on a smartphone. It doesn't take into account these people. So maybe we can improve coverage, we can improve lighting, we can improve bus routes, maybe we can push for night buses in this city. And these are the kinds of things that we want to be able to achieve through this qualitative data that we generate. At the end, I would just like to sign off by sharing something that emerged from these conversations, and which is why I very firmly want to remain in the realm of conversations. There are two auto rickshaws. There is a girl sitting behind one, and there are two people in the auto rickshaw next to hers. The men's auto rickshaw driver turns and says, "Tune kabutar pe auto chala diya." The auto rickshaw driver with the girl speeds up. He's followed by the other auto rickshaw driver who says, "Tune piche kabutar pe auto chala diya." This auto rickshaw driver swears at him, takes another route and drops the girl off. This, ladies and gentlemen, is code word for slow down your auto. I would like to whistle at or stare at the girl passenger that you're carrying. This is the kind of conversation that needs to be made public knowledge. We can talk a lot, we can have a lot of rhetoric, but this is the buzzword. This is the kind of code, this is the kind of perhaps patriarchal, perhaps masculine, perhaps societal prejudice that needs to come out. And unless we have conversations, I would never be able to tell you that I was the girl in the auto rickshaw and that there was no kabutar on the road. And kabutar kya, I would wish every woman were a hawk or an eagle who could soar. So thank you.
Thank you, Anandana. That was brilliant. Please keep standing tall and brilliant, simple idea, but a very brilliant idea. I think these conversations are needed. In fact, when we started iCongo, one of the simple things which we kept saying to people is, please do not give money to charities. Please do not give money to NGOs and then boast about it in your cocktail circuits, because you're not really doing much at home, are you? You're not doing anything for your driver. Have you got them a Mediclaim? Have you thought about them? Those conversations, everybody likes to do charity and feel good because you can talk about it, that I support so-and-so and I'm changing the world, but absolutely right. Those simple conversations. Thank you so much. So questions for Anandana?
Anandana, I really congratulate you for what you have been doing. This is Ajay Kumar Goyal from Saritsa Foundation.
Good afternoon.
You see, I think this itself is a disaster. What is really happening with women, especially the working women, and you're very right. Have you gone for a documentary projection or a production for this?
We are hoping to be able to collect materials and create something.
Why don't you also go in for an adult education program for these working women? Because I think with nowadays, both the husband and wife working, without them, the family doesn't go up. Yeah,
that's true.
It's very difficult. So, and as Almira was just telling about Mediclaim, none of these working women have got insurance.
Yes.
Though the government has already bought the schemes of insurance, but you go and talk to them, you won't find even 1% of them have got insurance. They don't have bank accounts.
That has to do with how we perceive labor also, right?
No, no, you see,
because
this is a
they're the unorganized sector.
No, no,
they're not
Ananda,
productive.
Ananda, you consider this as a small disaster,
right,
and take it up in terms of the resident welfare associations,
yes,
the MCD, working groups. You got to educate them to open bank accounts, and it's very easy. Right. But they don't know how to fill a form. You see, with my my own family and my neighborhood, I have introduced you. I'm not trying to take pride, but whatever little bit humbly I could do, 10 working women's insurance have been opened. They have been asked to go and open a bank account. They said, we won't. Why? हमें क्या जरूरत है, हमारे पास पैसे नहीं है, हम जमा कैसे? Though they are earning about more than 7,000-8,000 rupees a month. But they do not want to go to the bank, they don't have time. Even their husband or their children, they don't advise. But with right to education, now their children, they are able to put them in good schools. That is one really good thing.
I think your point is very valid, because we also realize that if we can start a conversation about safety, we can include more agenda, including financial inclusion and greater independence, maybe even legal rights. How to file an FIR, what can a cop do or cannot do around you, a lot of things like those.
No,
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I'd just like to thank you for a very informative session, but I had a personal question in the sense that I often teach the maid who comes to my house, I often teach her children, I often talk to her as you asked us to and very well advised us to. But the problem is that you talked about how DLF-5, just as an example, DLF-5 is safe for women. But the problem is that...
That's their latest advertising campaign.
Exactly, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. What they don't realize is that more than public spaces, their homes are unsafe for them. That's where they're most unsafe, and that's the sad part. So how do I get her to talk about her husband, her children, the problems she faces at home, because she's so scarred about it, or any other person at home, so...
Yeah, Ridhima, that's very true. Every week you read about house help being exploited by somebody or the other.
No, I think what you're really essentially looking at is called a trigger. In behavioral communication, we look for a trigger. What is the trigger that gets a person talking? talk of yourself first. You have to expose your vulnerabilities to be able to get them to do that. And also, their time is more precious than your and my time. You know, we can afford to take time off and attend this place. They cannot even come to a forum like this because God knows whose meal will be lost, whose clothes will not be bought for that month. So you need to really observe her, accompany her to her space, build rapport, and this will not happen over time. It may take you 2 to 3 to 4 years as well. You need to have that kind of patience. And that's why, perseverance, as was the buzzword then, and patience become very important. So I would really recommend you to do that. Share, and she will come around. And good job if you're doing that. Congratulations.
Spread the word, yeah. One last question from Abha.
Hi Anandana, this is Abha Banerjee.
Hi.
I come from a family where my parents have actually taken care of all the maids' children and educated them, got them married. With you on everything that you have said, I have a suggestion here that this is because size matters, so this is a community which is smaller in size socially. They are poor, they are uneducated, and nobody listens to them. So all these other things that we are talking about will happen once they are in a critical mass. So I would want to make a suggestion here that while you're doing what you're doing via conversations, creating awareness, please do find a way to create their critical mass as a cooperative, as something, because the bigger the size, the more they can make noise about keeping them safe. Because individually, I think it becomes very difficult. Women, we are feeling disabled. Then what about them? So can we put them together in a bigger space, a bigger group where they can actually stand together and say, okay, don't do this to me, which is something that the group will support them. So I think they do need support from outside, and that is one of my suggestions for you.
Right, thank you.
Thank you, Abha.
I think the critical point you've raised is of critical mass, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
We need to reach a point of critical mass.
Yes.
So as part of our plans, and we are very self-reflexive, we sit down and often tell each other, is this working? Is it going to really work? And we had looked at institutionalizing, but suddenly we felt that unless and until we start making it locality-centric, it will never become a city agenda.
Yeah.
Right? So we didn't want to necessarily align ourselves with any institution at the outset, but we are looking to align it with existing state infrastructure, because this is really a civic responsibility.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And I'm saying civic responsibility because it's my responsibility as well.
True.
To be able to participate in. And so I feel that, for example, councillors, and there is reservation for women to become part of, city elections, etc. as well, because of the reservation bill being passed. We need women like that to be able to come up, to galvanize, and therefore also RWAs. And then, of course, trying to connect them up with existing NGOs that work on legal literacy and maybe financial inclusion, etc.
Sure.
So I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
We can't be Robin Hood all our lives.
Yeah.
We will have to, come back to the throne, but
Yeah.
we'd prefer that it were a civic idea.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Abha. Thank you, Anandana. May we have Mehul upstage to give up the certificate? Thank you so
everyone.
much. That was a brilliant presentation. Simple ideas can make the big difference. We break for lunch. We come back at 2:15. Please come back on time. Thank you so much.